So we have a really great story today. It's called How the Bat Got Wings, and it is a Cherokee Nation tale. So this is a Native American folk tale. And I love folk tales. I'm a sucker for folk tales. And remember, this week we're talking about recounting stories, which just means retelling them. And we talked about how we want to take our big story, which has lots of details and events and characters, and we want to press it down, squish it down into a nice, small, compact recounting or retelling of the story, a summarization of the story. You will hear all those words a lot in the next couple years of school. But let's go ahead and read our story, and we want to be thinking about those important details, the characters, the events, the big problem, so you would be able to retell it or recount it to me. A long time ago, the bat was a tiny mammal. It had no wings. One day, the mammals and birds decided to play a game. The birds played on one team, and the mammals played on the other team. The bat wanted to play with the mammals, but the mammals laughed at her size. "You are too small," they said. "Oh." So the bat asked to play with the birds. The birds said, "You don't have wings, but we can make you some out of a drum." The birds stretched the skin of a drum into wings. The birds put the wings on the bat and said, "Flap your wings." The bat jumped off a tree and flapped her wings, but she didn't fly in a straight line like the birds. Instead, she flew every which way in a crazy zigzag pattern. Oh, I think this story is explaining why bats fly like this. The birds let the bat play on their team. Just as she had done before, the bat flew in a crazy zigzag pattern. The mammals on the other team could not catch the bat. The bat scored the winning points for the birds. When the game was over, the mammals said, "Who is that superstar on your team?" The birds said, "It is the bat. We gave her wings." The mammals did not know what to say. After all, they had refused to let the tiny bat play on their team. The mammals had learned their lesson. From that day on, they let any animal of any size play on their team. All right, so again, folk tales like this Cherokee Nation tale usually not only have a lesson, like our lesson here was they learned that they would let any animal of any size play on their team. They wouldn't discriminate based on size. They wouldn't say, "Hey, you can't play, you're too small." Here's a picture of the bat. There she is. Okay, she has her stretched. This isn't a very good drawing because you know how bats have these little things here. So in the story, it talks about how they took the skin of a drum and stretched it. Because bats' wings do look like they have stretched some material out over them. So I think this drawing's a little bit better. Sorry, Miss Ficarra is just saying that the story makes more sense if you're talking about real bat wings. Right, but yes, bat wings do look like you have stretched something out over their little fingers. Okay, so here's our bat with their stretched out bat wings. And this story, this folktale, also serves to... Folktales usually talk about why something happened when we don't understand it. So, for instance, the Cherokee Nation came up with this really amazing story that they would tell that explained, well, not only why bats have really interesting looking wings that look like something stretched out over some fingers, but also why they fly in a crazy zigzag pattern, because she had just gotten her wings and they weren't attached like normal bird wings. So that's why they made the story to explain why bats fly that way. Obviously, that's not the reason why bats fly that way. The story isn't real, but folktales are really interesting because it's old stories about why things happen based off of people that had no idea why things happened. And I just think that's really interesting. All these different stories, all these different folk tales that explain the world around us, because humans are always trying to make sense of the world around us, right? Sorry, that was kind of a tangent, but let's go on. So, I'm going to model this little question here. I'm going to show you how recounting or retelling a story can really help you when you have comprehension questions. So, for example, let me retell the story to you right now based off of what I've read, and I'm not looking at it, so Miss Vakara is going to do her best. Okay, there were mammals and there were birds, and they used to play games. And Bat was a mammal, but she had no wings. And the mammals didn't want to play with her because she was too small. But the birds said they would play with her. They gave her some wings made from a drum, and she started flying in this crazy manner. And then they won. And the mammals they felt so bad because they hadn't let Bat play. And now they decided that they would always let any animal play regardless of their size. So there's Miss Vakara's recounting, right? I didn't retell the whole story, but I told you the most important parts. And that's going to help me a lot. Why did the birds win the game? The mammals cannot follow the bat's movements. The mammals are surprised to see the bat on the team. No, they didn't even know it was the bat. I just said that in my recounting. The mammals refuse to play against the bat. No, they do play, and they lost. The birds fly in a crazy zigzag pattern. This is tricky. Just like those riddles Miss Vakara shows you in the morning, they are trying to trick you again. Someone does fly in a crazy zigzag pattern, but it's not the bat. It is the bat, sorry. It's not the birds. It's saying all of the birds fly like this, and that's not true. It's the bat. So the first one would be correct. The mammals cannot follow the bat's movements. She's flying so crazily, up, down, all around, like this, that they can't catch her. So yeah, don't get tricked by D. Oh, they tried to trick you. Ooh, but because I recounted the story and remembered it, I knew right off the bat that it wasn't B or C. So I was able to narrow those all down. Okay, so you have a writing assignment. Yay, writing! Oh my gosh, I know you guys love writing so much. Okay, so just like you've been doing with the last couple days, you are going to retell or recount. Nope. Sorry, that's brother and sister. You're going to retell and recount what happened when the bat plays the game with the birds. Not the whole story, just playing the game. Okay? So it's telling you right here, hint, review paragraphs 5 to 8. Include the most important details. Definitely talk about, the bat and the birds. But it's just about what happens when they play the game, not the whole story. See? It's not so bad. You don't have to do the whole thing like Miss Vakara said. So you're going to look at paragraphs 5 through 8, and you're just going to retell this part of the story in your own words. I know you can do it. Do your best. Remember, you are not taking this down word for word and writing that down. No, you're doing it in your own words. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just tell us what happened when the birds and the mammals played their game. All right, I know you guys can do it. Do your best. And as always, reach out if you ever have questions or concerns.